Right, ladies and gents, it's up your nose, please. Thanks for dish your knives out. If there's any more you need to get your work, you might need them later on. Listen up your nose, please. Elise, Ryan, Chester. Guys, can we pipe down just a second, please? Harry, Ruben, Jackson, Colby. It's that side, isn't he? Ethan, Emily, Toby, Holly, George, Georgia, Daisy, Lily, Maya. Guys, please. Thank you. George. Maya. Tom. Sonny. Isabel. Stella. Tafina. Weston. Ben. And Liam. Thanks, Carly. Right, okay, guys. So, right, thank you. Eyes and ears this way, please. Phones away. Nothing more exciting than what's going to happen in front of your eyes for the next 2 hours. George and Sammy, thank you. Right, okay, guys. So today, what we're going to do, we're going to do a bit of practice doing our demand curves, and then hopefully from that, we're then going to go on to the next concept, which is all about supply. Okay, so it's a bit of a recap. I'm going to go through some of the stuff. As mentioned before, there's a lot of the stuff that I've set up for you. Well, not I've set up, but the workbook is there for you to practice to get familiar with the stuff. Now, I don't know if I'll properly explain this one, but with this actual demand stuff that we're doing, we don't actually do an exam come November all based on demand. Okay, we do one which is called the market equilibrium, which you have to know about demand and you have to know about supply to understand what market equilibrium is all about. It will become much more apparent as we get there. Okay, so what we're going to do, we do need to know the fundamental concepts of what demand is, and we need to know the fundamental concepts of what supply is. You'll be very pleased to know that supply is very similar to demand. So what we've been doing in terms of drawing curves, getting used to plotting out the demand schedule and drawing curves, we apply it the same way with supply. All right, so it's not that much. No trickier, put it that way. Okay, so we're just doing. So there's a reason why I'm sort of going over this time and time again, because it's a fundamental thing we need to understand. Particularly if you're thinking about maybe going into doing economics next year or level 3, this is the base thing that we all need to know. All right, so this is what I'll go through. So guys, the first thing we're going to do today, I'm going to start with just a little bit of a terminology, little exercise. Nice and easy one to get started. I'm then going to go through some different scenarios of moving of the demand curve. And then I'm actually going to give you guys a little practice exam question. I know we're not actually going to do the exam on demand, but I'm going to give you a practice question anyway. So you can see the type of thing that they ask you, all right? Anyway, let's just get cracking on with this one. So first and foremost, very simply, there are the matching terms down here, and there's the definitions down here. So what we're going to do, match them up. It's simple, hopefully. And as ever, we're working in groups, so let's collaborate. Make sure we've all got our straight edges as well. Straight edges are us. Lucky thing right on it.
I wrote for this shit. I've been trying to work.
Is it right to me?
Yeah.
Test the timing. Stop playing these straight edges.
Oh, is this it? Is this the first one? Oh, wait.
I can't even draw a straight line.
ever get that feeling that you want to just like straight? I have that I keep waking up like thinking that I have both hands. I just try to like stretch it. She had sense. But there's a pain that's
Oh, I didn't know because I have because like he said like
I was trying to get it right.
Will you mention
It's almost so like I didn't do it.
I think I'd rather mention it. I don't like this video. I hate it. Oh, wait. I'm lost. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah.
Complimentary.
I
That's
didn't
the
read
one.
it. The first one. Oh, the change. I wasn't
Right, Job, we've got about 2 more minutes. Work together. Focus, elimination. You got any Harry? What's done? Feels like really good work.
The first one is that one. That one. Yeah. I'm just gonna say yes.
Hey, what's done now? Four markers. Yeah, just like one.
You better be right.
Just one done there. It's already done.
That's that. Oh yeah, it's another line. We're gonna be wrong.
Sorry, I'm not sure. Can I get a straight edge?
Straight edge.
I got a couple of lectures.
Huh?
I got a couple.
Oh. Yeah.
Thank you much.
I all need one?
Yeah.
Oh, you lot, straight edges. You don't come walking through that door without a straight edge. Economist. So, Jess, how you going? What I say, 2 minutes, 90 seconds. Don't be in a hurry. What do you mean in a hurry?
Oh yeah.
Right, 30 seconds. 30 seconds. I'm going to choose the questions in random order. First one focuses on you. What? Yes, it is. Random order. Anyone. If you have got your in your books for
2 more minutes.
not 2 more minutes, about 2 seconds now.
You might need it.
I'm all nervous now. I'll soon come up. Right, okay, ladies and gents, here we go. So, first one, because they're used together, Toby.
What? The first one? I can do it.
Yeah, sorry, the first one. Complementary goods, good stuff. Alternative goods, Ben. Substitute goods. What? The amount of a good or service that will be bought at a given price, Harry.
Demand.
Demand, well done. Purchase of goods and services by households, Georgia. Consumption, good one. Change. Oh, said the wrong one. Let me just shout out the answer then. Result of a change in something other than price. Stella.
Change in demand.
Yeah, in demand. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Change in demand. Result of a change in price. Tricky one, Isabel.
Changing quantity demand.
Well done. Changing quantity demanded. Remember, very similar ideas. One's something other than price. One is just the change in price. Individual who buys goods and services to satisfy wants. Alex?
Consumer.
Consumer. Good one. Graph of demand data. Sunny. Demand curve. Good man. Table of demand data. Daisy?
I don't do that.
Anyone help Daisy out? Emily?
Demand schedule.
Demand schedule, well done. Now, we've not actually done this one, but sum of individual demand. Anyone got that? Process of elimination, Ben?
Market demand.
Market demand. Now, let me just explain what that actually means. When we've been talking about demand, largely, I've been giving you scenarios of us as individuals that we would prefer to buy more things at a cheaper price. Now, that is the same rule for everyone. When you add everyone together, as we do with these sort of demand schedules, that is the collection of everyone's, how much everyone would buy at certain prices. That is when we add it all up, we call that market demand. It's the same thing. We sort of do it by just assuming anyway. So that's what market demand is. And then last one, Chester, have you got that for us? As the price increases, the consumer will buy less. Good man, well done. Law of demand. Good stuff. Right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So just put those to the side. The next thing I'd like everyone to do, guys, take a fresh page in your book, on your notes, wherever. If you can just draw up 4 graphs such as this, do not put the demand curve on it yet. I am going to explain to you 4 different scenarios. Probably might have covered these in the workbook, but it's always good to go through these collectively. So I'm going to explain to everyone. Please remember your straight edges. So have you got something you can write these down on? Well, we'll give me a solution, not a problem. Right on the back of what? Just give it to you. On the worksheet, I'm just going to you. You're on the back of that. You just scratched it up. Yeah. That's well done, isn't it? Just pass it over to you. Right, okay, guys. So what I'm just going to quickly run through now is hopefully something that we're quite comfortable with. It's this whole idea of a change in demand. Now, when I've given over to you for your workbook, there's been lots of scenarios that they're just asking you to work through scenarios, and you're shifting the demand curve from one way or another. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about the law of demand. I'm not talking about a change in price. I'm talking about shifting the demand curve. Okay. So, can anyone just remind us what are the 4 things that will move our demand curve from left to right? 4 things. There's an acronym I gave you to describe. Georgia? TICS. And what do TICS stand for? Good stuff. Right. Okay. So if we remember, our TICS are the only things that shift the demand curve. Okay. So our tastes, income, complementaries, and substitutes. Okay. So if I give you a scenario whereby, okay, the first thing, in fact, where are my scenarios? I was thinking about these just this morning. What I'd like you to think of is, our scenario, ladies and gentlemen, is the government has said there is a raise in corporation tax. Now, a little bit technical, you might not know what corporation tax is. Corporation tax is tax that businesses have to pay on their profits. Okay? So they're not saying to individual consumers, you've got to pay more tax. They're just saying to businesses, you make a profit, your tax, you've got to pay more. So now all I want you to do is work through what is the scenario, what's going to happen to our demand curve. Boom. 30 seconds. Go. Just have a timer up there. 30 seconds. Corporation tax has gone up. The government, so all you businesses, you've got to pay more corporation tax. Why does the demand curve? It goes up. The demand curves can't go up. It does can't go down. Why? What's it going right? All left, right or left? That's what they're not down, right, left.
Left because the left
What happens? Taste, income, complementary substitutes. What's the dilemma? 10 seconds. Right, okay, time's up. Ethan, what do you reckon? Right or left?
Right or left?
Left. Put your hands up if you think it's going to shift to the left. Put your hands up if you think it's going to shift to the left. Jackson, why do you think it's going to shift to the left?
Because the demand's going to decrease.
Because
there's not as much disposable income.
Well done. Because corporation tax has gone up.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's hard for me to say. Yeah.
Right. Corporation tax has gone up. It's not a tax on individual people's incomes. It's a tax on companies. So companies have got to pay more tax. If they've got to pay more tax, Stella, what can't they pay? What can't they pay more of? They've got to pay more tax, so they can't pay more of. What can't they offer more of, which might have an effect on the consumer? Right, hold on. Right, I'm having a think of this one. So companies have got to pay. The government said, right, you must pay us more tax. So they've made $100 million. They've said, right, you've got to pay more tax. The tax has now gone from 30% to 40%. So they've got to pay that much more. Because they've got to pay that much more, what do you think they probably can't therefore allow? They can't do people's wages thing, Georgia? Absolutely. They won't be able to afford as many staff members. They won't be able to offer bonuses. They won't be able to raise wages. If anything, because the tax has gone up, they won't be able to take people on. They might have to do what? Let people go, make them redundant, okay? If people are redundant, they've got less money, income goes down. Therefore, you're absolutely right. Well done, Ethan. You've got it bang on. So we have a shift in demand this way. Okay, so guys, what I'm trying to illustrate to you, everyone listening, thank you. Ethan, thank you. Is that in the actual exams or whatever the situations they tend to give in our economics exams, they won't say directly, okay, there's been a raise in income or a lower income. They'll give you a scenario which will have a knock-on effect to one of these things, okay? And that's what we've got to identify. And then hopefully it should be quite simple to work out which way it shifts to the right or to the left, okay? Next one. Our next one's coming out, okay? There has been, we are looking at the market demand curve. Oh, sorry, I didn't put a title there. But anyway, demand curve for cereals. Cereals that we eat in the morning. Put your hands up if you had cereal this morning. No, just what, four of us? Surely. What did the rest of you eat in the morning? Anyway, don't eat. Right, anyway. We are looking at the market for cereals, ladies and gentlemen. The cereal producers have just spent a lot on advertising. Okay, so all of a sudden there's more adverts about cereals and how wonderful they are. Obviously on you lot, you need more advertising, okay? So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, next dilemma, 30 seconds. What's going to happen to the demand curve? Cereals. The demand curve for cereals. More has been spent on advertising for cereals. Where's it go? And why? Diddle-a-dun-dun-dun, diddle-a-dun-dun.
Never mind, I think I'm wrong. I think you said it. Oh, because they sit there, like.
Think, which way does it go and why? Which one of our ticks is it hitting?
Oh yeah, and like
Right, 10 seconds. Lee, got an answer? Yeah, okay, I'm going to come to you for this one, all right? Yeah. Right, 10 seconds, coming to an end. Here we go. Advertising on cereals has gone up. If we can all listen out. Over to Liam. What's going to happen?
It's going to go to the right.
Shh, wait. It's going to go.
To the right.
It's going to go to the right, Holly. It's going to go to the right. Why then? Because advertising, which one of these is a hit? Tastes, absolutely. Okay. So once again, Tony, listen please. Once again, in the exam type questions, when they give you scenarios, they won't say, "Oh, tastes have gone up." They won't say there's more people with the taste of cereals. They'll give you a scenario. Advertising, any spending on advertising has a direct influence on tastes and fashions. Okay. So Liam is absolutely right. If there's money spent on advertising, it tends to influence people's tastes, and it would tend to shift our demand curve to the right. Okay, we call it D to D1 there. Okay, we'll also have our arrow. Good. Okay, those ones are pretty easy. The trickier ones are our complementaries and our substitutes. Okay, but before we jump onto these ones, guys, just going round. Remember what I'm always saying about being accurate and being very specific in our demand curves. Please make sure that your arrow is going that way, parallel there. Please don't make it be going like that or going like that. It means something completely different. Okay. Toby, Chester, you pair doing my head in. Toby and Chester, focus, please. Right. Okay, so please make sure these are accurate. Right, the next scenario is a little bit more tricky, ladies and gentlemen. We are now going to, down here, we are looking at related goods. Okay, so when we're talking about related goods, they can be complementaries, they are used together, or they are substitutes. Okay, so these ones down here, we're going to be looking at related goods. Now, the scenario I am going to give you, we are going to look at the humble fish and chip. Everyone likes fish and chips. Very popular, okay? Now, for this one, we need to show two graphs for one scenario, okay? Now, in our scenario here, what we are looking is that there has been a rise in the price of fish. I don't know if I put a question mark there. There's been a rise in the price of fish. There has been a rise in the price of fish. Do you know why there's been a rise in the price of fish?
Less fish.
Less fish. There's not less fish, but you've got the right idea, Stella. There's been, in my fictitious world, there has been the seas frozen over. But we can get to the fish, but we've got to drill down. And that takes a lot of time and energy and effort. So it's harder to get to the fish. So there's less fish being caught. Okay, not less fish in the world, but less fish being caught. This is my fictitious world, remember that, right? So what we need to do is show, okay, what is the relationship? In here, we want to see what's happening to the fish. And over here, what's happening to the chips. Now, I will illustrate now, in this scenario here, we have a change in the quantity demanded, and over here will be a change. Oops, not a change. That triangle means change. I'm sure you know that in demand. Okay, guys. So this is the more tricky one, right? So what I want to see is what's happened here. This is going to be about the law of demand, and this one is going to be about shifting in the demand curve. Work together.
Okay, I just don't know.
This is a tricky one.
You can
Okay, I'll give you 30 seconds to walk around, see how we're going. This one is a trickier one. Really? The scenario is the price. So rising the price. Then the other not the right idea though. Right, okay. Now guys, just before I announce this, I'm running a bit of an experiment with you guys, and I've just asked Colby's in collusion with me on this experiment. As I told you before, this has been beamed to the world. This lesson, because everyone knows how much of an amazing teacher I am, obviously. Because you guys all graded me 10 out of 10, didn't you, the other day? I remember that. You did, Stella. You did, really. Okay, you don't believe me, do you? Anyway, yeah, I'm doing an experiment, and I'm live streaming. Right? And one of the reasons why I'm live streaming is because if for whatever reason you're sick and you want to catch up, you can go back and have a look, see whatever you've missed. Or if you want to beam in live from your sick bed, you can do it. Now, I've asked Colby to get in contact with Ryan because he's on his sick bed right now, and as an experiment, he's logged in. And I was just about to pick up and say hello, say hello to Ryan, but he's not there because he's just logged off. He was just on just 1 minute ago. However, anyway, so please mind your P's and Q's as you're talking because it's going out to the rest of the world. And it's evidence if you say anything incriminating as well. But anyway, ethically, I really need to tell you that one. Right, anyway, we go back to our fish and chips, ladies and gentlemen. So fish and chips, what we can see is first and foremost, when we have a situation with related goods, okay, whenever a situation with related goods, we have to show two scenarios, okay, because they're related. So the first one is focusing on fish, okay. So what we would do is there's our demand curve. Now, please notice, guys, all right, this one, as I mentioned, is a change in quantity demanded because it's talking about the price of fish. So we have to show that there is a change in the price. So we do, not really accurate, but there's our original price. Oops, amazing. Let's call that P. Let's call that Q. There's been a rise in the price of fish. And what we can see here. Okay. So what we can see with our arrows is our price has gone up, which has led to our quantity demanded going down because of the law of demand. And the law of demand states as price increases, quantity demanded will decrease, and vice versa. And what's the Latin word? Ceteris paribus. Everything else being equal. Just thinking about that, right? So what we can see there is that this is a change in quantity demanded. This is a movement along the curve. All right. Now this has therefore a result, a knock-on effect with our chips. So all of a sudden, because of the price change in fish, what's going to happen to the demand curve of fish? Daisy, which way are we going to go? Left or right?
Right.
How do you think left? How do you think right? Why do you think right, Ruben?
Because people buy this fish and then
Buy more chips. But they're related. You usually buy fish and chips.
You can get other things.
You can. I know you can get other things, but we're trying to be looking at the scenario, right? They're complementary goods. So in theory, if the price of fish has gone up, it means less is being consumed. That means less chips are being consumed with the fish as well. So what it actually means is that demand will shift over to our left, to the left. Now, I know full well that you're thinking, chips, you can have them with burgers, you can have them with pizza, you can have chips with spaghetti, you could even have chips with snails. Whatever you want, how you can have chips on their own, right? But we're looking at the relationship between these two in this scenario, okay? So in this scenario, we would see the chips would go to the left, okay? It's in the real world, it's not strictly true because, as I say, you can eat chips with whatever you want, all right? But largely, this is the knock-on effect because of these related goods, okay? Right, so whenever we've got related goods, complementaries here will be linked together, okay? We want to do two. So we're going to do one other, the other scenario, so we need to draw two more, which I forgot. Okay, now this time we are going to look at substitutes. Okay, and this is going to be cars v public transport. Right, so this is a little bit more of a trickier situation again, but the same principle applies. This time we are going to have a decrease in the price of cars. Why has there been a decrease in the price of cars? Because more cars are being made at a cheaper price in my fictitious world. All of a sudden, there's going to be a decrease in the price of cars because I have found out that to produce cars costs 10 cents. So they're producing loads of them, so all of a sudden the price has gone down because there's so much competition. Okay. So what I want us to work out is the relationship as substitutes. This is going to be for cars. This is going to be the result of public transport. Boom, go! If you don't have a car, you go and get it to school. You get a bus, don't you?
I was there for the whole thing, and then continue after that. Let's just tell me waiting. English teacher, and then I was like,
So the first one is going to be
I was sitting out there by myself, everyone else left.
I'm right here, I want to do that. It's a waste of resources. Anyway, if you do, turn off the sound. Oh, that's it. You go there. And if you've done it, you've done your scenario. Ben, go outside a minute. Bullshit.
Not a boy.
When I talk, just tell me how well you can hear me. No, very good. Right, okay. Just do a test. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Ben, you can come back in now. Ben, you can come back in. Did you hear it, right? Yeah, cool. All right, okay. Right, let's do a little test. Right, anyway, so decided it's obviously experimentation. All this technology, amazing. Right, where were we? Okay, so cars, public transport. We got a decrease in the price of cars. So here's that demand curve. What are we going to draw here? Anyway, Maya, what are we going to draw here? Your price, absolutely. So we're going to do a P, a dotted line. Down here, we're going to label it as Q. We've got a decrease. So I'm going to illustrate it. We'll call it P1. Flip it over. Down to here. Down to Q1. Okay, so remember, as a law of demand, we're just talking about cars here. The law of demand says, as price goes down, quantity demanded goes up, vice versa, ceteris paribus. Okay, so what we're looking at here is therefore our quantity demanded has gone up. As customers, we like cheap things. We like to buy cheap things. So what we're looking at is what is the knock-on effect of public transport. Now, we don't know anything about the price of public transport, okay? But what we do know is that there are substitutes. There are related goods. Substitutes are one of our TICs, our TICSs, okay? So, therefore, if the resulting issue is that we've got quantity consumed and demanded of cars has gone up, what's going to be the result of public transport? Ruben, give me a much better word than going down. Shift to the left, shift to the right. Shift to the left, absolutely. Okay. Guys, when you say goes up, goes down, I know exactly what you mean. But if you were to write that in an exam, you'll get hammered for it. So please, shift to the left, shift to the right. Let's use the correct terminology. Okay, so what we're seeing, if there's a price decrease in cars, all of a sudden people are going to go and jump in their cars because it's a substitute. So people who are using public transport, all of a sudden they thought, oh, right, brilliant, cars are now affordable. We're going to get off the bus, we're going to get off the train, we're going to go and buy a car because we can afford it now. So all of a sudden the demand for public transport is reduced by a shift to the left because of what we're seeing here. Okay, and all those people that are getting off the trains are these people down here. Okay, and that's why quantity demanded has gone that way as well. Okay, good one. Right, so remember, guys, this is basically, hopefully, not too tricky for you. These ones are a little bit trickier because they're bringing in both the idea of we're looking at a change in quantity demanded and the resulting change in demand. So if we are asked a question directly about related goods, remember we've got to show both scenarios here. And one will be to do with price and the other one will be to do with all the ticks that are affecting it as well. Okay. Now, our final thing that we're going to do for this half of today's show before intermission, thank you so much, is oh, that's right. I've got a nice little. Oh, this is probably going to go into the second half of today's show. Right, I'm going to give you a little exam question. It's all right. It'll be all right. It's not like an exam. It's just right, as a bit of a taster and a bit of a tester, that's how we go. Can you see the furthest graph on the? Can you see it? Yeah. I don't think it makes much difference. Is it a bit better? No. It's got to be. It's got to be.
If I was like at home, I'd probably do it. I would go for this.
Can you see up to? You see up to these ones?
Yeah, but it's hard to read the writing unless I went full screen. Yeah, I can kind of read the writing.
I suppose what I was actually doing
I just did bring it on.
Right. First one. Plot your graph. With a title. Good on you. Make sure your titles are in there. Your axes, your lines, your labels. You're plotting your graphs.
This is the more, yeah. This is the more allegations.
Let's go.
I'm just gonna
Oh, it's back on. Oh no, that's you, isn't it? Did you like it?
It's like slightly.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like something there.
That's why Ben didn't.
Anyway, enough of that. Go with this. Come on, chop chop. What are we doing my job?
Wait, am I doing this right? No, I'm gonna leave it to you guys. Oh yeah. No, it's good. It's good.
Fabulous. Right, look at the next bit.
We do it right.
Yeah, other than
Oh yeah, I finished.
Well, the next bit, you'll be able to stick on the changing price. Flip it over, it's changing price.
Oh my god. Do it door.
Right, let's do the next question.
Wait, yeah. Just restart. Oh, yeah. Get that. Keep that. How did you not get it?
Okay, guys, we will call a little break now, a little bit of intermission. Come back to this.
Do you know how to do a graph?
I only found that out like the other day.
Right, thank you guys. Leave the stuff here on lock up.
Yep, you got it. Do you know how to do the
Wait, Cal, shut ready over there.
When you use the type words,
use
use the top.
No worries.
Yeah, I would. Usually use the square device or something.
Good, right. See you next.
Oh my gosh, I'm getting it behind.
Come on. Who's talking today? Oh. Sorry. Has it gone up or down? Has it gone up? Book your summer getaway. You're early. I'm not paid to speak to you at this time. Come in, sit down. 2 minutes, 7 minutes, 1/4 past, isn't it? To get you here for 1/4 past. So I don't get paid until 1/4 past. So these words I'm giving you now are like free, so you should feel it was a nice gift.
Even then, I was sitting in the front row. Did you do the practice questions with me?
Oh, you know something. Yeah.
I didn't understand this one. And I didn't understand this. Which one's soup? Check this
Oh, we just did.
Y11 BEC ou pas?
Oh, there was regular BS.
No, I don't think so.
So they're legit.
No, the jet was
It's not runs off the BS. Does it? Yeah. Oh, I'm looking at the jet right now. I don't know.
because the rolls are expensive.
No, but I'm on the jet
This
right
just doesn't even matter.
now. It's up to BS.
No, we got to talk about it.
That's what's the jet.
Mom's just like, "Look, this way for you." He's sitting. Yeah. Okay, let's start the second
I
thing.
didn't know if it works the same way as like down the I don't know. I don't know. Wouldn't that make it shitty? Yeah.
What's
Also,
that about?
Right, ladies and gentlemen, before we just get the next part of the show underway, carry on with your exam question.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. That's what we did last. So a little bit of a clue up on the board.
There's not much on it.
Where'd you get that coffee from? Cafe?
Canteen.
I said you felt it today. I didn't even know that.
It was a different girl making it. No, like, it was better than the last one because the other girl makes it really good. But then they Do we just do another graph on this page?
No, you just do it on the original one you did. So that's the price change, yeah? Right, ladies and gentlemen, who's come back for more? Annalise?
Yeah.
Chester?
Yeah.
Harry?
Yeah.
Ruben?
Yep.
Jackson?
Yeah.
Colby? Ethan?
Yep.
Emily?
Yeah.
Jake? Jake? Why did I say Joe's Jake? Jake, where are you? I was looking at Toby's surname. For some reason, I called him Jake. Sorry, Toby.
What?
Are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely correct. That's fine. Holly?
Yeah.
George? No. Georgia?
Yeah.
Daisy? Lily?
Yeah.
Maya?
Yeah.
Sunny? Isabel?
They're all coming right there.
Are they? Look at
Yeah.
them. Mincing along. Stella?
Yeah.
Savina?
Yeah.
What's the name? No. Ben? Liam? He's with them as well. Look at Lates. I'm assuming they're going to turn up.
Oh, I will test after. I just don't know. This is P1. You needed to do it twice. Wait, what are we up to? Wait, actually, when we do P, do we do the arrow going up or do we do it going down? What?
Right, guys, just for this first bit of the spell, all I want to do is have a go at doing this first question. I'm going to talk through the bit at the end as to how we would properly answer this in an exam type situation. Now, I know I said we're not really examining on this one, but this goes across the board. It's a general introduction as to how examiners mark things and what you're expected to write up in some of these economics exams. So come November, we've got an economics exam that we do, and we've got a business studies one. The business studies is the business problems, and the economics one is the equilibrium that we're going to look at. So just as a general introduction.
I'm just going to do arrow. I'm not going to do the arrow. Oh, okay. Oh, I don't know. Oh, I don't know.
Just leave it how it's fine. Have a go at flick out and answer questions.
What?
Right, if you've not done that form, don't fret. I'm going to go through it on the board, but please, anything that you've not done, just listen out for how we go through it on the board. The key bit I want to go through specifically is the bit that's the writing bit. That's the bit that is this up. Right, okay guys, so just put your pens down just for a second. Headphones out of ears, please, guys. Everyone's full attention, coming this way. Right, first and foremost, just looking at this question. So this is a real typical type of question that they will ask, okay? Very often, they will ask you to plot some sort of graph and then manipulate it in one way or another. So hopefully, what you would have found, quite simply, you would have plotted the graph to roughly that it's going to look a little bit like this, okay? That type of shape, okay? It's then going to ask you to plot it and label it with all the effective things there. So what we need to find is, remember, tools, title, boom, axis, lines, labels, that sort of thing there. Forget all those, they're going to go tick straight away, and that gives you 5 marks, all right? What's missing?
D.
Good on you. Right, so we're missing a D. So I wouldn't get 5 marks, all right? Which might have implications later on, or the build would say, well, what they would say is, if you're missing something like that, they're going to say, well, it's not really merit level, is it? Okay, so bear that one in mind. It's a very easy thing to trip up on and miss out on, but it's a little thing, and it does have implications later. Right, so hopefully we should see that, and we should be able to see that from, we've got a price change from $7, and that goes up to $12. Obviously, I've not got the grid to this, so I'll just write it in here. And then it was 7 down to 4. Okay, so hopefully we've got our arrows, etc., etc. Great. Okay, now moving on. The next bit was therefore, sorry, this is obviously looking at the next bit, obviously, which was the B, the change in price there. Now, the tricky bit here is this next bit. Now, whenever you've got one that says discuss, now I'm pretty sure this is quite common in other subject areas of NCA. NCA, they're a funny lot, the way they ask these questions. I always think it's very misleading, because they'll give you this bit that says discuss the change in price, okay? And you think, all right, that's what you've got to write about. It is what you've got to write about, but what they're actually asking you to do is follow the bullet points. That is what they're actually, their mark scheme is set against all the bullet points. So as a tip, always, they'll give you all these things to do. I will always say to every class I ever do, at level 1, 2, 3, with these bullet points, label them 1, 2, 3, and then when you start writing, when you're covering each area, label it. Number the paragraph 1, 2, 3. Do you remember what I was saying about making it easy for the examiners? As an examiner, if you are directed exactly where the specific marks are going to be, or wherever the answers are, it makes it a hell of a lot easier. But if you're just confronted by a whole wall of text like that, your heart drops, all right? So little things like that, little techniques like that will really help you, okay? And it also allows you to structure it. Anyway, okay, so our first bit, it says, refer to the law of demand. The second thing, guys, in this it is worth underlining any key concepts that they're saying. So in this bit, it's law of demand. Whenever they're saying things like refer to or explain the key concept, the first thing is you get in there and you bang out a definition. All right. Now, we always tend to say these days we're not supposed to teach you guys like rote learning, you know, parrot fashion. But in this instance, it's funny because NCA give marks if you've got the actual law of demand word for word. Don't know why. So what it's always a good one to remember. Law of demand, we're going to look at the law of supply. They are both linking into what our final exam is going to be. So remember, I would just literally start this by saying the law of demand, I'm abbreviating it obviously, says that as price goes up, okay, quantity demanded goes down. By the way, you have to write this. Don't do that. You'll get done in the exam for just doing that. Okay. And then I do this VVCP. Okay. Vice versa, ceteris paribus. So vice versa obviously means as price goes down, quantity demanded goes up, etc., etc. All right. If we're going to write it out, let's just do it properly. Okay. As price goes up, quantity demanded falls. Vice versa, you can say that, that's fine. Ceteris paribus. It seems very strange that in 2018 the examiner wants us to write stuff in Latin, but there you go. All right. So if we write that, that is the official law of demand. Boom, 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 boom. Okay? So refer to the law of demand. That's you referring to the law of demand. The next bit is using the data from page 4. Okay? You would say that this can be seen on the graph. Okay? Let's say as the original. If you don't want to write all this out, please take a photograph once we've done. That's absolutely fine. It is $7. We call it P, didn't we? Yeah. P, which leads to 7. Is that right? 7 at 7? Yep. The price rises to $12, which results in full prices being consumed Q1. Okay, so I'm literally spelling out what we're actually seeing there, okay? Now, the key thing is, when we're doing our lines and labels, these Q's here, these P's, all that type of stuff, please, 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 one of the most common mistakes we see all the time is that you do all the hard work by labeling up your graph nicely, but then you don't use it here, okay? The examiners give specific marks for making sure that the correct figures are being used, okay? Not just the numbers, but also the labels. And when you go to examining school, because believe it or not, you get trained to do all the examining, the first thing they say is when you're reading through this thing, you skim read it, the things you're looking out for are the figures. Boom. They're all there straight away. That says, right, this is going to be a good paper. They're referring back to the graph. It's very easy. You skim through, all right, yeah, there's a 7, there's a P, there's a P1, there's a P1, there's a P2, Q1, Q, whatever it is. Okay. If it's there, easy. That says, great, you're on the right track. This is going to be a strong answer. Okay. So, referring to, so that is stating, you're showing you know what that means. Okay, that you know what the law of demand means. You're then applying it clearly on the graph by using the clear data that's been provided that you've written out. Okay. The next bit is a little bit of a more tricky bit. Okay, so give reasons for a change in the number of fitness classes Rena may attend. Okay, now remember, Rena is a consumer. Okay, she is affected by the economic problem that we are all affected by, which is, anyone remember? Not ticks. What's the problem we all face? Wants, needs. Brilliant. So she has got unlimited wants, but she's got a very specific, limited amount of means, i.e. money. All right? So what we've got to remember to link this back, so the reason why she's changing her behavior, okay? You could say, Rena has unlimited wants, but limited means. This is the thing that's going to always, it affects all of our behavior because of this key thing here, okay? So she can say, to manage this, okay, Rena will consume less Zumba classes at a higher price as it is too expensive at the new price of, is it $12? $12. Stick in the label there if you want. Okay. Too expensive and uses up too much of her limited means. You can say, therefore, less classes, so Q1. Okay, so it always boils down to this whole idea. This is what the examiner wants us to be able to come up with. Okay, so these are the reasons why it's changed from 7 classes to 4 classes. In a real simple speak, as we all understand, and I know you guys understand it because we've all grown up with this, it's too expensive, right? For us to write, it's too expensive. For the examiner, it says, no, that's not in the economic speak. We've got to spell it out like this. The whole idea of linking it to the problem of scarcity, limited means, unlimited wants and needs. Okay? So the whole idea is obviously she manages this by consuming less, so therefore it doesn't use up so much of her limited means. So therefore she's still got enough limited means left over that she can satisfy her wants and needs in other areas. Okay? That's always a tricky bit. It's very tricky, not because it's hard to understand, it's simple. That's why we like cheap things. But the hard thing is to put it into examiner speak, okay? Because they can be very particular this one. And it's such a simple concept that all this stuff can be summed up in one sentence, is that we like cheap things because it gives us more money to spend on other stuff. But to write it down isn't good enough, okay? So always bear this one in mind. It's very easy to just go into the real simple explanation of this. The third bit is a flow on. You're going to get very used to flow on effects. Okay, now, in economics, we love to look at what are the knock-on effects of some of these decisions that we make, okay? So Rena, in this instance, she's been forced because of the economic problem that she doesn't have enough money to spend to get to continue her Zumba classes at the high price. So obviously she's changed her consumption pattern. She doesn't consume as much because it's too expensive and she doesn't want to use up. So what does this mean for her? Once she's therefore changed her behaviour pattern, what does this mean for her? So when we're talking about flow-on effects, you can say after the event. Okay, so this is just basically a way of remembering what these means. After the event, what happens? To basically just what happens. What happens? So Rena all of a sudden has realised, okay, yep, I'm no longer going to be doing Zumba 7 times a week. Was that? Was it a month? Was it?
Week.
Well, she's only been on Wednesday, isn't it? Oh, anyway, regardless, right? So she's changed her consumption pattern of doing less Zumba classes. So for Rena, what was that going to mean? There's a whole heap of 1,000,001 different things that we could say. We could say, well, she's not going to go to Zumba on a Wednesday. She's going to instead go out, cross the road, and get her toe off, and she might die. It could happen, but it's not really relevant and linked to our situation. What the examiner is looking for is a scenario that's going to occur, which is clearly linked to the situation. Okay? So Rena, as a fully functioning human being with all her faculties and good decision-making skills, she's now going to think, right, I'm now flow-on effects. What can I do instead? What can she do instead? For example, with the limited means that she's holding back. She wants to do 7 Zumba classes. She can't do 7 Zumba classes. It's too bloody expensive. So she's holding back, maybe managing her money a little bit, but she still wants to do 7 Zumba classes. She can't do 7, she can only do 4. So she's missing that 3. What can she do instead? What can she switch her spending to? Pardon me?
Business Zumba classes.
Okay, but Zumba classes are $12. I like your idea, but she can't do Zumba classes. What does she get from doing Zumba? What is Zumba? It's like jumping up and down and dancing, isn't it?
Yoga.
Yoga?
I don't know. It's, never mind. I don't
Like
know.
yoga.
It's like yoga.
It's
Like yoga. Do some yoga here. Yeah, this is called the alligator. Anyway, I'm joking. Right. So anyway, yoga though. But what? Can't do Zumba. It's like yoga. Oh, yoga. What could she do instead?
yoga.
She could do yoga. So what the flow-on effect is? Rena could take up yoga. We could say, because it could be cheaper. We don't know, but it could be cheaper. But would you say, you're saying that Zumba is like yoga. So yoga's like Zumba. So yoga may still satisfy the similar wants and needs that she gets from doing Zumba. Okay? So it could be, she could take up yoga. Okay? She could take up other types of dancing. She could go running. That's free, isn't it? She could go running. Brilliant. Okay? Imagine she doesn't do that, but she just doesn't do Zumba anymore. What else would be a flow-on effect to her? Doesn't do Zumba anymore. On a Wednesday night, sits down, comes in from work, has her tea, sits down, doesn't do Zumba. What might happen? Why do people do Zumba? Pardon?
I don't know.
Athletic, yeah, athletic, and why else? Why else? Do Zumba, do yoga, do all these things. Why do people do it? What's the benefit? You get fit. So she's no longer going to do as many Zumba classes. What's going to be the flow-on effect to her? She might become unfit. Absolutely right. So a flow-on effect is Rena may become unfit. Absolutely, she may become unfit. Sometimes if you're unfit, you might get ill. Now, that's probably a little bit more extreme, okay? But this is probably a more likely one. This is what she could switch her spending to. So when we to introduce you to these types of questions, because in economics they always come up, what are the knock-on effects? This is a real good one because it's within the whole idea of what we've been talking about. She's switching her spending. This one probably isn't quite so relevant, but it's still one that they would accept, okay? what else was going to be the effects by you not choosing that course of action, by not doing Zumba because it's too expensive? You could become unfit, you could become ill. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, just as I'm not going to bother going through the next one, okay? But in looking at these things, it is a very simple general introduction as to how examiners pick out how they're going to score in marks from these types of things. All right. So we'll be seeing a lot more of these to get us fully in practice for our externals, which are coming up. We'll do the practice externals next term. Okay. So as a bit of an introduction. So if you scribble that lot down, that's great. If you want to take a photograph right now, we'll have a little brain break for about a minute while I'm getting sorted out, and then we're going to go into the wonderful world of supply, ladies and gentlemen.
This thing we did yesterday was fun. Oh, not him. I think he is as well. When I was sitting here like this, when I was like, he was like this. I was like, the one who's, and then he walked past me and I was like,
remember it, remember everything there, everything's been live streamed. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. You can go back and have a look. Just look up my name on YouTube and you'll find all this stuff. Right.
John, yeah, that's oh, he was cool. I hated these all. I'm not like I actually wanted to ask when we arrived today. I actually know if they wanted to. I was so scared I was going to get caught up. I drove out. And when I got all stuff, my uncle walked in and I was like, I want to do the same one. I want to do the same one.
It's like 60.
Right, because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Listen, you don't know all these.
Right, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to draw your attention back here. Little brain break. Phones, iPhones, whatever you call them, phones away, please. Right, sit in that chair properly as much as you can, so you'll see it fall off. Don't want to happen. Right, ladies and gentlemen, so when we have been looking at demands and when we've been looking at this economic problem, it's pretty easy to understand because we are all naturally consumers. So when I say to you about, yeah, we like cheap things, we want more money to be able to spend on other things, we can all relate to that because that's how we naturally are. But one day, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to think a fair proportion of you guys will not just be consumers, but you will also be producers. You'll be owning your own business. You will be running your own business. Who here would like to run their own business? Yeah, I like that. No one else? The rest of you want to work for the man for the rest of your life? Or you want to be your own boss? Your choice entirely. But some of you, I'm sure, will be in positions whereby all of a sudden you're more than just consumers. You are people who serve consumers. As soon as you start doing that, being business owners, your perception as to things such as prices and things such as what is value for money completely changes. Now, when we start looking at supply, we have to take our hat off as a consumer and all of a sudden put our hat on as a businessman or woman, as if we own our own business. Because as soon as that happens, our motivations change. So the first thing I want us to think about, ladies and gentlemen, 30 seconds, talk amongst yourselves and think, what are the motivations that drive people to run their own businesses? Go! Money.
They go. You say all these boxes.
Right, okay, Chester, give us one. Why do people run their own businesses? Wait, guys, can you stop talking, please? Good one. So, be your own boss? Absolutely. Own boss, and you have your own control. You can go to work whenever you want, or not go to work if you want. Colby, what's another reason? Why do people run their own businesses? Why would you? You said you wanted to do it. Why?
I don't know. Maybe I want to be like the best. I don't know.
To be the best. Yeah, it's a form of competition. Absolutely. Yeah, drives people. Jackson, what else?
Make money, good money.
There you go. To make money and be rich. We tend to assume, don't we, that we make that connection. If you've got your own business, you're rich, you're successful. Yep, absolutely. What else? What other reason? George?
Fame. Fame.
Fame, yeah, good one. Yeah. Fame, yeah, responsibility. Any other reasons from anyone? Ruben?
For a good reason, like charity maybe.
Good one, yeah, for a good reason, for a good reason, charity, etc., etc. Right, guys, Ethan, stay with me, please. Right, Harry, take that thing out your ear as well. Okay, so first and foremost, what we've got to understand when we look at the other way of approaching this economic thing, demand is quite naturally familiar to us. Supply, on the other hand, is a little bit more different, okay? But that's not to say at the minute, it's not to say in the future we won't be in these positions. When we look at supply, we have to change our perspective, okay? And we have to think as if we are in the shoes of someone who owns their own business. And we've also got to think there are all of these reasons, and you're absolutely right, and there's even more than this, of reasons why people choose to run their own business. But the main one that we are focusing on from an economic point of view is this, is the key motivation, okay? So when businesses make money, a much better word for it is they make money, they can take away, they can, because they've worked hard for it and they've gained, you have done it. Profit, thank you very much. So that is the key motivation that we're looking at, okay? Not the only motivation. From a business studies point of view, when I talk to you guys, I say there's all these things. From an economist point of view, I say there's only that one, all right? So this is the key thing that we're focusing on at the minute. You're absolutely right, all these other things are. So the first thing that we need to understand, and it is worth scribbling this one down, guys, is that we need to understand the empathy behind supply. All of a sudden, we have to put ourselves into the shoes of a person who runs a business. We are putting ourselves into the shoes of someone who can write something down for you rather than reading about it. Okay? So we need to put ourselves into the shoes of someone who wants to be famous, who wants to do really well. They've always got to make a profit. That's the number one, the bottom line that they've got to do. It's a little bit trickier to do. What's up? What do you need?
I was just going to take a photo of it so I can write it down.
Okay. Well, it's up on Moodle. You don't need to do it right now. Okay. So, when we're thinking about supply, okay, we are no longer consumers. We're no longer consumers. We're no longer concerned with that whole idea of extending our limited means. We're flipping it the other way around. We're now producers. Okay. So we are a producer. We're a manager of an organisation, and it's something that a thing that we're always motivated by is profit. Okay. Whereas I've said to you guys that us as customers and consumers, what do we like, Harry? What do we like? As consumers, we like cheap things. As producers, and we own a business, we like Jackson?
Money. What was the question?
As producers, we like profit. So we no longer like cheap things because cheap things don't earn us profit. We like expensive things, and as a producer, we want to provide expensive things because expensive things give us profit. So straight away, what we should be able to see is there's a contradiction, all right, or there's a contrast between the two. As consumers, we like cheap things. As producers, we like to produce expensive things. Okay. So producers will try to produce something and sell it for a really high price. Consumers will say, no, I'm not going to buy at that high price. Supply, and for the next few lessons, we're going to talk about supply. We're going to come through that door. We are going to be talking as if we all run our own business. We like expensive things because they earn profit. Okay? So, when we're talking about supply, like quantity, is flipped the other way around. Okay? It's the quantity of a good or service that a producer is willing and able to supply at different prices. So, when we were talking about demand, it was about the consumer, what we were willing and able to buy at different prices. Now, it's about the supplier. It's all about the producer, okay? And we tend to use these words interchangeably. A producer is the business. A supplier is something because they can recognize that, yep, this is something that I'm happy to let go to sell at this price. They've got to be able to sell it at that price. It means they've got to, by selling at that price, it means that they can make some form of profit, or they can at least survive. They can at least break even. Okay. So, producer, as mentioned before, any organisation that makes the goods and services, and here's a key bit, all right, and they receive revenue. Please, guys, just try and pretend when you come into the store that word money doesn't exist. Money is income, it's revenue, it's profit. Okay, it's all these different terms. Money is a very general word that we use outside of this economics classroom. Okay. This is probably a bit small, so I do apologise if this is a bit small. Okay, so the way in which we've seen this before, the way in which we work out revenue is price multiplied by quantity. Okay, and once you get that revenue figure, you take away your costs, and that will give you profit, which is the thing that everyone loves. Okay, the thing that those producers can. Okay, so what we're trying to say, hopefully you're now starting to understand there's a bit of a link between what it's saying here and what we've been looking at in terms of demand. Please don't tell me my straight edge is going down your trousers. That looks disgusting. I don't want that back unless you hygienically clean it. Right, moving on. So here we go. Law of supply. This should sound very familiar. Same sort of idea. But if we look a bit more closely, it says something different. As price rises, because us as producers, we like expensive things, we will supply more. Quantity supplied rises. So as the price goes up, we go, brilliant. If it goes up, we're going to supply more and more and more and more. Okay? As it falls, we go, no, we're not going to sell, we're not going to supply so much. It's not worth it. We don't make any profit on it. Okay? So as price rises, quantity supplied rises. As price falls, quantity supplied falls. Assuming nothing else changes, in Latin, ceteris paribus. Okay. So for those of us that are abstractly minded or conceptually minded, if we remember our demand curve look like that. Anyone guess what our supply curve will look like? Sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. What do you reckon, Isabel? Exactly right. Supply does that, demand does that. Okay. So what we're going to be starting to see now is when we look at a supply curve, incredibly similar to the demand curve, apart from one very important factor, it goes the other way. Okay. This is referred to for us mathematicians amongst us, inverse relationship. This one's a positive relationship. So as one goes up, the other goes up. One goes down, the other goes down. Okay. So from that, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, we therefore have our supply schedule. It happens it's exactly the same as a demand schedule. In fact, guys, I don't think we need to even write this down. Okay? We have a supply schedule. A better way of doing it, I'm going to give you a supply schedule. Get plotting, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. So under supply, there's our supply schedule. Once again, the socks. It's a good default. Do a curve. Supply curve. That's the very one. Straight edges.
What? Yeah, I'm actually
50 and 100s. Be very careful the way this goes up though, guys. It's a little bit different from the rest of it. Oh, let me work that one out. What's it called again? Supply schedule. Ignore that quantity supply percentage. I've no idea what that percentage is. It's just random. Ignore that. Scales are quite tricky. I would suggest you basically could possibly even the first bit is just going to be looked at, and then it's going to spread out a little bit. So you could just do 5, 10. I would do 5. 10 to 10.
Oh,
So from our supply schedule, we can see that our producer at 50 cents, not interested in supply hardly anything. They're going to make profit 50 cents. Oh yeah, you got 2. I'll sell you 2 at 50 cents. However, $50 though, right, brilliant. There's 100. Right.
Oh, wait, no, yeah, I do.
5. Because look at that first bit.
Oh, I did it.
It's a different scale. So if you do 5, 10, 15, 20.
You're right.
It's really fit. Yeah. No, I'm identifying. Be careful because that can be a bit tricky.
I look stupid. I need to restart. Q. Do we just do what we do with the other one?
Yeah, but it's going the other way. Should find it's going the other way.
This is gonna be hard. I'm gonna stop that right up. 50. 50. Okay, 986. 86.
See, like my numbers are maybe
That's fine. As long as it shows that's the key bit. That's in that direction.
Do I need to draw a line or?
Yeah, just connect the dots, join the dots.
3.
Right, for those of us that, as a bit of an extra one, for those of us that have plotted the graph, all I'd like you to do is illustrate what happens when the price rises from one price to another. Illustrate on the graph the law of supply when the price rises.
49.
I'll give you a clue, dotted lines. Dotted lines, P1s, PQ1s. That's the idea.
30.
I will just show a price rise on that. So remember when you have a P here, P there, P1 up there.
Do we read it across this way? Does it matter what number it was?
No, whatever, it's just a price rise. So it could be from 1 to 2 or it could be from 1 to 100. But the price is going up. That's all it's demonstrating. So it's a movement along the supply curve. Yes. So if anyone around there is scratching their heads a little bit unsure, good man. If you think you know where you're going, collaboration. That's collaboration, that's teamwork. I like it. I like it. Right, for those of us that have even got to that far, we're going to finish up in a couple of minutes. But what will be the absolute cherry on the cake now would be underneath that graph where you've shown a price rise. You underneath, in your own words, to explain the law of supply and how it is applied in the graph that you have written on. because you've of course got all the correct labels on. And then we can all sit back, put your feet up, and light up a big cigar. No, you can celebrate because you're all doing very well.